everybody. Welcome to Alexa Developer Office Hours. Happy morning, happy noon, or whatever time it is for wherever you are. It's definitely settled into being fall here where I am, so I'm kind of bundled up a little bit because it came on very suddenly. Today, we are going to be having some folks from our DAG team on because we're doing a dedicated Q&A day. We haven't done a Q&A day in a little while, so we're just going to have a little bit of opportunity for anybody out there to ask their questions of the DAG team and get those questions answered, whatever they might be, whatever we can help you on your Alexa development journey. I have also heard tell that today is the day to register for reInvent events, perhaps, if you're going. I'm not going to reInvent this year, but if you are going to reInvent, I do hope you have a blast. I will be at TwitchCon, actually, next week. This weekend, not even next week. It's this weekend. Oh my gosh, it's so fast. And I'm also going to be on AWS's channel tomorrow, talking about Alexa development. So that's really exciting because I haven't gotten a chance to do that. So hopefully that'll be a really good chat as well. So we got a lot happening over here behind the scenes. But let me bring on our DAG team folks. So today we have Ayumu and Wolfried here today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having
Thank
us.
you.
What
Thank you
time
for
is
having
the
us.
AWS stream? I believe it is in the afternoon.
Yes. Yes. I'm currently in Paris, so it is 6 o'clock here. Yes.
Oh,
Are
nice.
you?
Well, yeah.
Yes. Just temporarily, just for
Well,
until
thank you
next
for
week.
joining us all the way from Paris. That's so
Yay.
nice of you.
Hi everyone. Good evening, good afternoon.
Good evening, good afternoon. Oh, and to answer the question from the chat, the AWS stream is at 1:30 EST tomorrow, so a little bit slightly later than this stream, but not a lot later. So if you want to tune in, tune in. Some of that stuff we go over might be pretty basic for our seasoned Alexa developers, but it's a nice opportunity to talk a little bit about the outreach of efforts we're doing here at Alexa. And we have Ayumu, you're joining us from Seattle,
Yes.
so we're
I mean, technically, West Seattle, but yeah.
West Seattle. So morning for you, evening for Wolfried, and middle of the day for me. So we got a nice spread today
Spread.
on the show. Um, so thank you both for joining us. Today we just want to talk a little bit about DAG team stuff, how things are going with DAG team. I know the Stack Overflow initiative. We talked about that last week. And we had a little bit of Q&A about that. So I won't go into it too deeply, but how is it going over there with Stack Overflow?
I actually seen a couple of the activities from the community members, so I'm so happy. But if you have any the feedback to us, like just let us know.
Yeah, that's great. It's cool to see that we're making initiatives to move into other developer spaces and continuing to support the developer community in that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's still a new initiative, so I think developer can still give their feedback and how we can better help them using Stack Overflow, and how we can in the long term provide more documentation, more articles, any type of resources they need to make their development easier. Yeah.
So on DAG team, your biggest job is answering tech support requests, especially
Yes.
those that come through the contact us form. So while we think
Yes.
about if the community has any questions to ask, I love to talk a little bit more about contact us because that's where I usually send people if they have a specific question and say, "Hey, I'm trying to do this one thing," because it gives you the opportunity to look directly at their code and see exactly what their problem is, right?
Mhm.
Right. So if you get a request from Contact Us, what is the best practice for formatting that request for our developers? What information helps you to do the best job with that?
That's a good question because it helps us too. So the one thing, sometimes we get like, hey, this doesn't work, help us. Those are really hard to, the investigate, like start investigating and what's the issue. So like we would like to know like what's the issue, how to reproduce the issue, and then the other information such as like customer ID. You can get the some links to get the custom ID, and also like when that happens, like so that we can like kind of like check what time that happens, then like we might be able to find some like issues during the time, or we can find some logs during the specify the time zone. And also if have the activity keys, that is really helpful us to identify where the issue is.
Yeah, that's a good point that Ayumu mentioned. I also wanted to add skill IDs. Sometimes we get requests, and without providing the specific skill ID, when developers have many skills, it becomes, it delays the process for us to look into the issue, to look into logs per se, using the timestamps, and it's usually easier when we have those details firsthand, and we are able to get back to them as soon as possible that way.
We got a useful link posted in the chat about how to show the activity key for those of you that are on Twitch as well. The activity key is available in your developer console, right?
Yes. So usually the activity key would relate to issues with voice commands. If you are having issues with Alexa recognizing commands, we can easily look into what happened with those activity keys. And yeah, that link should definitely provide you the steps to access and retrieve that for us generally. And for the developer who have reached us through contact us, we usually send detailed steps to retrieve those keys. So it might be helpful if you bookmark this link that was shared in the chat.
I'm going to
And yeah,
actually put this on the screen in a rare
mhm,
moment because that way people that are
perfect.
watching us on YouTube and stuff can see the link as well, so I don't have to copy paste it. But
Link
that
it
is a
very last.
very useful link. Thank you very much for providing that for us as well today. So
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
it's a little bit of a long link, but look for it on your developer console if you can't find it. It'll be in there. Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I want to go slightly back to something that you said earlier, which was the time window, specific time window. Are there bugs that happen at specific times of day? What kind of bug could cause, or is it just more to fetch it from the logs?
So sometimes the like, let's say like interaction model cannot be built or something, and then
Mm-hmm.
if we check the timestamp, and we can check if the time we had some issue at the time or not, and then if we identify that issue was related to some other issues, then we can just tell the developers like, hey, we had an issue, so like, and then this is already resolved, or this is still happening, so that we can provide more information like smoothly.
Yeah, and
So
to add, sorry, Amanda, to
no, go ahead.
just to quickly add more, yeah, we can also look into logs on our end. We generally
Mm-hmm.
don't have access to the code or the developer account. We can look into logs related to that test, or any, the test made at that specific timestamp or around that timestamps. That helps us narrow down and look into what may have happened, and we usually find issues related to maybe a formatting issue in the request, or it could be also an issue like you mentioned, that an issue on our end during that specific time, or that helps us narrow down and more accurately identify what happened at that specific test. So yeah, that's a good point. I agree.
So us aside from all that stuff we talked about, anything else that's really important to slide in? I think the steps to reproduce is a really valuable thing to have in there.
Yes.
That is, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because like we sometimes get the logs as well, and on time zone, time window or everything, but like we still um so we don't like hold logs that long time. So like if we can reproduce the issue, then we don't need to ask developers to provide the new logs keeps again and again and again. So like if we have uh the steps to reproduce, then we can reproduce, and then we can provide the logs to internal teams. So
Mhm.
that'll be really helpful for us and also developers.
So, a couple comments I'm seeing in the chat. Dana Voice says consistent documentation, examples in Node.js and Python, and full examples of working code. I'm assuming that's your feedback for our team. I do know that the DAG team is also responsible for some of those code samples. Yeah, do you want to talk a little bit to that?
Yeah, and I mean, our team has started getting involved in GitHub and sharing
Mm-hmm.
Alexa samples code related to all types of Alexa skills development. We can certainly work with the documentation team to request, based on feedback from devs. We can certainly work with the team to get more examples, like Dana Voice mentioned. I do know that we only have Python, Node.js that are fully working
Mm-hmm.
at this point, and some developer might be interested in other languages. So that's a good feedback to take back to the team and see what we can do. Yeah.
I think the tech doc has like thumb up, thumb down
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
features as well. So like you can simply send a feedback as well. But like if you have some complicated the feedback, you can just use the contact us as well, so that we can receive and then we can make sure what's wrong and we can pass that to tech doc team to update that document.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. And I know we have had the Tech Doc team on here too earlier in the year. So if you missed that, that VOD is available on demand on our YouTube as well, because I know that there's lots of mechanisms by which you can send feedback to the technical documentation team. A DAG team often works more with the GitHub, but the Tech Docs
Mhm.
team, and I'm sure, I'll work very closely to get the code samples up and running and everything. So if you haven't seen that episode, we do have ways you can send documentation feedback. There's also the little how's my driving at the bottom of our tech docs that help with
Yeah.
sending documentation. So,
I would highly recommend the watching the show, because like they explained how to like search the tech doc. Like,
mhm.
so you should use this search box or this search box or something like that. So it is really helpful for all developers.
It could definitely be really helpful. Um, Other comments from the chat. I did a contact us asking about dev rewards. When I asked for more details, they hinted only new students get dev rewards. I don't
Mm.
know. I know that we talked about this a little bit last week, but I don't know that your all team has that much say in the dev rewards process. I guess, but you can at least talk a little bit about it. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I will pass that feedback to our team as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're gonna keep keep track of that feedback and talk a little bit more about that. Um Next question. I have a question about NLU annotation sets. Do they increase the accuracy of voice recognition at all? I was under the impression they were just there to text or model. Ooh, really good question. I do not know, but I'm sure one of you does, or both of you do.
I actually don't know the answer. But like those tools are really helpful, but I haven't seen any change recently, or I haven't heard anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would second that. Definitely, haven't well recently. Nothing has changed a lot with those. So, and I'm kind of uncertain as far as what he's referring to regarding the accuracy of the voice recognition on that part. Maybe you can clarify further, but just so we can be sure and help answer that question. Even our team in the background can help get back to them on that. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't think the NLU annotation retrains the voice recognition. I think it is purely for testing to see how your model is working, but I could be wrong about that. Well, you can see if there's a better answer, but I think you're right. I don't think they, in your guess there, Malira, I don't think they actually retrain the set, but we
I
could
don't
get some
think
we
so.
could get
Yeah.
some clarity on that from some of our folks behind
Yeah.
the scenes if they're 100% sure on that. But I think you're right. Um, let's move back to talking to you about some of the most common questions that you get, because I hear that fluctuates. So used to be one thing, now it's something else. What do you think is the most common sets of questions that you get right now as that team?
I think that's related to Radio Skills Kit, RSK.
Hmm.
So like many developers that used to create audio player skill for their radio stations, the people started using RSK. So like we got a bunch of questions about it, like this is not working, or how this works, or such questions.
Yep, and
Nice.
one. Sorry,
No,
I
go
was
ahead.
gonna mention one specific case I had with the
Hmm.
recognition for the radio name. Yeah,
Hmm.
we're working a lot with the RSK team to improve there and get back to you more faster on those type of concerns, since we have to usually escalate this internally. Yeah. So.
I'm excited to say that we're going to have Radio Skills Kit as the topic for next week's show, because I know that it's a really common question set
Mhm,
that DAG is getting right now. And hopefully, having that even on demand will help answer some of the most frequently asked questions about RSK.
mhm.
RSK, I think, is a really cool initiative. And it's interesting that you're getting so many questions about it, considering how basically code free. It's not a very heavy high tech solution, but does that mean that you're getting a lot more like maybe inexperienced developers who are touching it for the first time?
Maybe, but
Yeah, yeah.
like it or maybe like people think that the hey, I'm making the skill, so like the mindset is kind of different. Like RSK is just basically submitting their like information, that's it. But like developer might wanna have more like functionality for their skills or something, then like, hey, well, we can achieve this or something like that.
Yeah, and also Amanda did mention that some of those developers are not very experienced. They could be radio owners that try to, push their radio online and not knowing the requirements for some of the URL for the streams and the locales, and how long it'll take if, say, your radio station is published around the world versus just the UK or the US. So there's usually a time. The ingestion time will differ depending on the locales you used and so on. So there are a lot of requirements that you might need to consider before you submit a radio skill, and it takes time in those cases in general. So yeah, I do agree. There are some that are not experienced, but we're here to help and make their experience with ingesting the radio much easier by addressing the issues directly with the teams and trying to get those and it's usually recognitions issue with the radio names, and trying to get those fixed as soon as possible. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's great that we're offering low code, no code solutions for people to get onboarded. I always am in favor of anything that democratizes development further to folks that maybe just want to give it a try, even if it's something simple like putting your radio station online. So I think that that's really cool. So I'm looking forward to that conversation next week. But I know it's a hot topic with DAG. And I also see that smart home is a hot topic with DAG, right?
Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
smart home is like a big topic for us. So like it's like involved like many functionality, like account linking, or and then also like really different approach to the custom skills. So like you
Hmm.
don't need to take care of interaction model, but like you need to send the discovery response and change a report or state report or such. So like it's just the different concept. So like some people are comfortable to create a custom skill might be a hard time to find how the smart home skill works. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and also issues with the usually the mismatch between locales and endpoints that would cause your skill to not your devices to not be discovered, right? We do get that a lot on the smart home side, and it's usually yeah, a mismatch. We have a very nice blog that we can share that that explains a bit how you can avoid that type of issue. If I can find it, I'll share it in the
Sure.
screen.
You could post that in the
But
chat or on the
mhm.
screen for folks to check out.
Yes, yes. But yes, smart home is a big topic, and we receive tons of questions. To For developers who want to start building smart home skills, from more seasoned developers that are trying to include more controllers, trying to add more controllers to their smart home skills, or experience more different types of features that we have.
So are all those questions like very esoteric to the actual home build, or are there a couple that are like, this is a problem we always see over and over again, we can kind of cut off at the pass here?
Usually, I would say they're usually the same overall. There will get at some point in time we'll get a lot of questions related to device discovery at once, and other times maybe account linking issues that are experienced, usually because this is required for smart home skills, and also, so yeah, it really depends, really, in my view, in my experience. Yeah.
It
I'm
is
going to
not.
return to the. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, so
Yep.
it is not like a really really common thing, but I just want to mention that the sometimes when you send a change report to the Alexa, and then your endpoint gets 200, but still the in the Alexa side, the request might be failing. So like you might want to check the smart home debugger tool on Alexa developer console to see if the request no response is actually passed through to the Alexa as well.
I'm going to return to the chat for just a second. I see that our
Mhm.
behind the scenes team confirmed that NLU conversation we were having, that yes, it is just for the testing purposes. And Dana, to your first topic about docs page feedback, again, go back to that VOD video because there's an email. You can send email directly to the docs team. I shared it that date, but I don't. I think it's just emailing Paul Lewis directly. I don't want to get it wrong. So go check that VOD about the documentation team, or I could link it to you later on the Slack, because you can send them an email if you have direct feedback to send. They're willing to listen out. But some of the pages do have the how's my driving where you can send text feedback. So check and see if you've got a page that has the text feedback at the bottom. So that, I agree that they don't all, but a lot of them do. So next question in the chain. I have a question about intent responses integrating with Alexa conversations. Oh, this is a great question. I made a change to the message to both the require more response and the out of domain response, and now I can't trigger either of those. Oh, this looks like a contact us question. But what do you think?
Yeah, this is more like contact us questions, and like we would like to get like steps to reproduce, and then what's the difference between what you expected and the actual behavior, and some of the settings for Alexa conversation that helps us to drive further. And if you have also the activity keys, that'll be helpful as well.
Mm-hmm. And you can get to that contact us form from your developer console, right?
Yes.
Should be right up in the easy to find spot to click.
Yes.
They should be able to take a good look directly at whatever your initial problems are and figure out if there's a problem with the way you've set up those responses. That should make it a little bit easier.
Yes. Yes.
Next question. I'm testing the custom trigger fixture. I'm told to put together a trigger file and email it to Amazon at a given address. Why is that the method? We don't know. I don't know the answer to that. But when can I expect to get a response? That's probably a fair question.
I think custom trigger is still developer preview.
Yeah, that's probably
Right.
why.
Yeah.
So that's probably why it's an email response, because it's developer preview. So
Yeah. I think that, yeah. But yeah, if you don't get the support from them, and you can just use the contact us, and we can figure it out.
yeah, another example of a way you could get in touch with us if you maybe are having an issue with it. How do you make a large widget? I don't know if those are available yet either. I think that might also be a preview.
A
Yeah.
large widget. That's not sure. Yeah.
Scrolling down to the other. Oh,
There's
one
no
more
time.
question from Dana Voice. Trying to research the Amazon Music API. So that's a very detailed question. The talk says the only scope necessary is Amazon Music access. So what's the high level to the scope?
That's a good question, but this is kind of out of our scope. So you might need to contact Amazon Music API team support
Right.
if they have.
Yeah, because the Amazon Music API isn't really run by Alexa. Amazon Music is its own thing. So if you're looking at Amazon Music API, that might be a different technical documentation area to look at as opposed to under the Alexa documentation. If you have radio kit questions, that's a good thing to bring in next week. Or the DAG
Yes.
team has often been answering the radio questions. But Music API falls under a different header, if I'm not mistaken. So that's something that we don't necessarily know all the ins and outs of.
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay. We were learning the biggest questions that people have are sometimes how to make things interoperable, right? I mean, that's the whole challenge with smart home.
Definitely. Yeah.
If developers are stuck, and aside from Contact Us, we're very familiar with Contact Us here, but aside from that, and we've got all our office hours archives, what are the best resources?
I would say the documentation usually is is the very good resources. I do find it easier at times because yeah, it can be harder to navigate through and find the answers at times, but there are tons of information. At some point, it can be overwhelming as well. But yeah, I do think the information there usually have. Step by step details on how to get started. If you're looking into new features or new tool that was released, and yeah, we usually try to provide code examples and samples, and you can also check out our GitHub samples repo. They usually have tons of demo skills that you can look into and try to use as a template to get started and better understand how skill development works overall. Yeah.
I thought I had a link to the GitHub in my banners too, but it's not super hard to find, right? It's GitHub Alexa.
Yeah, github.com/alexa-samples.
Perfect.
Yes.
Yeah. Great way to get lots of samples for code. What about in my own code? What do I do if I'm what how can I what's the best way to debug my own code without going to y'all?
Always check logs like usual. And
Mm-hmm.
um, this is not the default, but you can also set the interceptors to capture response and requests. So that is really helpful for the debugging. So like I think,
Yes, I definitely agree with that. Especially for issues for your skills related to your skills at runtime, you can easily find logs in your CloudWatch if it's Alexa hosted or hosted on AWS. You can also always add additional logging in your code to kind of understand where the code breaks or where the issue happens for your skill. And then that's usually a best practice to
Mm-hmm.
better detect issues firsthand and address it. Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to ask, what are some other best practices for skill testing? Just so I can get to the bottom of where my skill might fail, either for certification or for problems with tech.
uh, do you have any with it?
Skills testing. You mean following before submitting skills to certifications?
Yeah,
You
are there good tests you can do to make sure that it passes everything that it needs to pass and all that?
they usually has we usually have requirements in the documentation that list what the certification team will look after in your skill depending on the type of skill. I know for smart home skills, for having worked a lot on those type of requests, they do have a list of controllers that may be required for specific smart home skills, and that all these requirement needs to be followed because certification team is very thorough and they try to look into all those to certify the skill. And if anything is missing, it might be delaying your skills publishing, and it could it could be the reason why. But yeah, I would definitely look into those requirements to get started. There's usually other tools in hand in the developer console. The simulator is the first hand. I like the testing simulator in the console can be a good start. I think you mentioned the debugger. The smart home debugger also provides there's a sets of checks that you can use to understand where your requests, whether your requests are reaching Alexa, or if there was any issues. What else? Yeah, we usually recommend starting there before actually testing on a device, because you ultimately need to also test on a physical device to be sure that it works
Mhm.
as well as intended before you submit it and for certification. Yeah.
And I even posted some useful links to response interceptors. Do you want to talk a little bit about how those help us to debug as well? There's the Node.js, and then there's also Java and Python links.
Yeah, those are really helpful. But so Wilfred mentioned, but the testing tab also provides some like interceptor functionality. So like you can see the response and the request on the screen. So you can use it as well.
Oh, and here's that smart home debugger too, for those that want that extra help debugging their smart home and seeing how those requests are coming through. I think you guys said you get a lot more smart home requests, so it's always good to know
Mhm.
how these devices are talking to each other and so forth.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, and one more link, blog for smart home discovery issues. I love posting links. There's a lot to read. Malia says thanks. Someone suggested help me with my voice recognition issues. Yeah, no, I think they were probably mistaken. I think we've got you covered with that though. Um, Tina Voice said, "Is it appears you guys are Python people, so only really new samples Python." Listen, I'm gonna say, yeah, I am a Python person, absolutely. Although if we want more samples in Node.js, leave us a comment, let us know. I think that I'm intercepting a lot of feedback that it's good to have more samples in Python, but maybe it's my bias as well because that's what I've been coding in the most lately. So, um, we'll add whatever people need. I think with time permitted and skills permitted for the things that people really need help with. So if there's something you want an example of or are struggling with a sample wise, that's a great thing to provide feedback to us, and they can provide feedback on the GitHub as well, right? There's a way to
Yes.
leave comments there.
So not leave a comment, but you can create the issues. Then
Mm-hmm.
you can communicate with us.
There's that GitHub
Oh,
post, by the
thank
way.
you.
Let's share it in the
Yes.
chat. So.
Yeah, if you go to the repository and then you
Mm-hmm.
can click the tab called issues, then you
Mm-hmm.
can just create it. Then you can just like questions regarding the repository or like
Mm-hmm.
a bugs on the repositories, and then we can take care of them.
Yeah, not many people who are GitHub aficionados, know this, but GitHub's actually a great place to talk about like feature changes, conversations. There's you can always leave issues, and the team will look at that and see that maybe there's something we need to look at, or maybe we need to expand our documentation a little bit. So, yeah, both are really needed. Exactly. So we try to balance the needs for all of our developers. I've gotten some feedback like, you guys are riding two different horses by trying to support different languages, but I honestly think it's great to support different languages. And even though it causes maybe a little bit of headache sometimes for our tech support team, the benefit to developers of trying to code in the language you're most comfortable with, I think, is personally for me, I'd prefer that. But I don't know how y'all feel about. Are you specialized, or what are you better at, Python versus Node, or?
I I don't have any like
No
preference,
preference.
but how
No
about
preference.
Wilfred?
I'm more of a Java type,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, as you notice, Java has been phased out a little bit
Mm-hmm.
lately,
Mm-hmm.
so I had to convert to Python and Node.js really. But yeah, it's definitely a good thing to have more languages if possible, just to cover and help developers who are looking for to develop in different coding languages. Yeah.
I personally, when I need to call like other APIs, I use Python because
Hmm.
concurrency is like easier.
Right. Yeah, I think it's totally a matter of personal preference for different developers. And so, we're just doing our best to support what people have questions about. But since
Hmm.
we have a good sized team working on this behind the scenes, we're going to find somebody who knows your specific language, if you have questions about it. So, to find the right person to route those questions to.
Yes, definitely, and which we also learn other languages. So don't worry if you have questions. Yeah, send us through the contact us. We'll be able to look into the logic and help if any. We can help address those issues. Yeah.
Right.
So I'm gonna kind of riff a little bit on what I'm seeing in chat because Malira was asking about voice recognition issues. I'd love to know a little bit more about what those voice recognition issues are and if there is a good solution to help. Whether maybe it's just intent mapping or something like that that might be causing the problems. Um, I was looking at some of the Stack Overflow questions because we're going to be going over that tomorrow on AWS, and I know that there's some questions around intent mapping and how to get the most out of intents. Is that another common thing that DAG also sometimes has to handle?
Yeah, we do get tons of questions on that side, and that's where the activity key is very important. We can help look into what happened in the process with Alexa and LU. We can oftentimes escalate this internally to look into whether it is after checking whether you have properly built and shared a model for your skill, something, a skill that has enough examples, you say utterances for your intents. Um, yeah, based on that, we can usually share suggestions, advices, or escalate with the team to see if they're able to assist for more complicated issues.
I want you to, I mean, everyone to know that there are like a types of the issue, and then one is probably like a speech to text, like what you said was misrecognized by Alexa. So,
Mm-hmm.
like if I said Ayumu, that is really hard for Alexa because it's not English. Then like it could be like Are you moo or something. Then your skill doesn't get the correct intent. And that's the case. We have to improve the Alexa's the recognition, right? And then another one is Alexa recognized Ayumu correctly, but it didn't go to the right slot or right intent. That's the two
Mm-hmm.
big separate issues. And
Mm-hmm.
like if you can identify, hey, Alexa doesn't recognize my voice, then you should just contact us so that we can improve the recognition. But if the slot value isn't catched by the Alexa, then you might need to check your interaction model. But like we can still help how you can improve the your interaction model. So like feel free to contact us as well.
Yeah, certain things are kind of on our end to fix. Like if somebody has an accent that Alexa doesn't understand, or if they're using a lot of unfamiliar words, and we think they should recognize those words. That's more of a you can contact us and give us the feedback that Alexa doesn't understand you. And that is more of a well, we're gonna have to look into that. We're gonna dig into why that is and see how much we can improve on our end to continue to improve your experience. And we're working on that all the time out here. maybe you don't necessarily know because it's all behind the scenes, but we're definitely always trying to fix that kind of thing.
Yeah. Sometimes we are asked like, hey, do you guys change anything? And like the
Yes.
answer is always yes, because it keeps changing. Like not like significant change, but like we are like keep changing some of the aspects. So
However, isn't a tenet of good conversation design to use plain language? Absolutely. And if you, as a developer, are trying to figure out Definitely try to make it as simple as possible. Especially for your users, use the simplest. I have a problem with that personally because I throw 10-letter words all around all the time when I talk casually, and people are like, "What did you just say?" Oh, I forgot. I don't know, speaking gibberish. But if you're writing something that you want Alexa to say, revise it a couple times to make sure that it's as clear and comprehensible and understandable as possible for your users. Shorter sentences, shorter words, get to the point. All those things are going to help you to communicate with your users. So definitely, for sure.
Yeah, I recently kind of realized that my baby, 3-year-old baby, can use Alexa, and like,
That's so
oh,
great.
I thought it was amazing, but like, let's think, like Alexa can, you know, like understand like easy language better than complicated ones. So
Right.
that's a really good point, Amanda.
Yeah. So, returning to that question, I have issues with some of my slot values. One off the top of my head is salmon fillet. Alexa ignores when people try to say this. I have both fillet and fillet versions. I'm issues with voice recognition made support for us. Yeah, it sounds like it.
Probably, yes.
Yeah. Is your skill like a food ordering or like a recipe type skill? Sounds like that would there'd be
Hmm.
some larger or unfamiliar words happening maybe in a recipe skill. It's a
Yeah.
game. Oh, okay. Cool.
Oh, game.
Now
Salmon
I'm even
fillet.
more now I'm even more intrigued. Now I'm even more intrigued. Is it a game that involves salmon? Is it a cooking game? That's really fun. I've been doing this voice recognition thing for like 60 years. I don't know if 40 will do it. Well, I actually think that the voice algos are improving at a pretty rapid pace right now. So I think we will see updated improvements, but definitely contact us about that one if you're having trouble with it recognizing certain words, because not that we'll necessarily be able to change your code, but it's good for us to know because we can file a bug and say, hey, Alexa doesn't recognize this word. And we can even give us the steps to reproduce Alexa not recognizing that, so we can see if it's something that we need to fix.
Mhm.
I think I should mention that like you can also, as a user,
Mm-hmm.
you can also give us feedback like thumbs up, I think, some down on the
Mm-hmm.
history of your voice, right?
Mhm.
Oh, is that on the developer console as well?
No, it's on the Amazon retail site, and then you go to the
Oh, okay.
your voice history, and
Voice
then you
history.
should to see some like sorry, I forgot the name, but like I think it's feedback, and like you can you can get what you expected or something. That's the question, and then you can do thumbs up or
In
thumbs
relation
down.
in relation to the skill.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's cool. Yeah, if maybe you get an unexpected response, give us a thumbs up or thumbs down on that. But yeah, I'd love to see more about your game as well and see if we can help you to get to the bottom of why it doesn't recognize those words.
And
Because
the
I
activity
probably
key, remember, might be very useful
Yeah,
to get started there. Yeah.
I think it's
yeah.
necessary.
Yes, it's necessary.
So the activity key will help us to see like where that utterance was made, what Alexa thought the utterance was, if anything,
Yes,
and what intent it mapped that to right away. We can just see the activity key.
exactly. Hmm.
Yeah, it's useful. Useful. Well, I'm hoping that you get to the bottom of this one because I'm already really intrigued by what this cooking game would be. We're at 15 minutes left. I feel like this has been a good session already. We had a lot of questions. I don't know if we'll go the whole 15 minutes. Depends on how many questions we have left here. So if there's anybody else there in the chat that has questions, hit us up right now. If you don't have if you're not here, if you're watching this on demand and you have questions, Slack is a good place. But now you can also ask on Stack Overflow, especially if it's a common question that you think other people are going to have, or even if it's about something specific, like what you're asking about the recognition of different words. Maybe there'll be somebody else out there who's run into the same problem in our community that has feedback about that. Hey guys, hey, welcome to the show. Let us know if you have any questions for our developer advocacy team today. We're just talking about common bugs, common solutions, and how to get the best tech support for your Alexa skill development. So, are y'all working on any exciting skills? Anything new you can talk about with the development cycles? I know there's some stuff we're kind of working on right now. It's all secret.
Fun stack,
Most
but yeah, not much we can really talk about, I think. But yeah, exciting stuff happening, and will happen soon. We'll have more information to share as soon as possible. Yep.
Is Alexa available for Android? Yes, yes. There's an Alexa app on the Android. I'm an Android user. I use Alexa all the time on the Android. Really useful for me if I'm maybe not at home and I'm out at the grocery store and want to leave myself a reminder to do X when I get home. Open up that Alexa app. Um, I don't think that we always support the app as much as we should. I think the app is a really great useful tool for interacting with Alexa when you're on the go. And I'd love to see more functionality in the app as well. But I also have 5 devices, so it's pretty easy for me to turn my head and talk to an Alexa device, at least when I'm at home. But when I'm on the road, I don't have her in my car. I don't have Alexa Auto, so I have to use my phone. Yeah. Yeah. She's available for Android. And in fact, a lot of people don't know this, but you don't actually need a device. It's not hard to get one if you need one, but you don't actually. You can use Alexa through the app.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can test your skills. You can, and for smart home skills, you usually need the app to set up your
Mhm.
devices
Mhm.
with your skill, and usually play with it much faster. I have found, but yeah, I do think the app is also useful to interact with Alexa directly. I noticed some on some devices you're able to enable Alexa and call it even though the app is not open,
Mhm.
and interact with Alexa that way as well. But yeah, you can use it.
And if you're a skill developer, and you're interested in making skills for other devices, it's really good to test on devices to be sure that the skill works the way that you hope it would on that device, especially if the device has a screen, because the different screen sizes
Hmm.
are beneficial. So, we might discover that your skill that has a screen doesn't necessarily work on a
yeah,
skill on a device itself.
that's correct. And then like
Yes.
I would highly recommend test with no display device and
Mm-hmm.
display device because you have to handle if you are using APL. Like
Mm-hmm.
for
Mm-hmm.
non-display devices, you should not send APL document. But
Right.
yeah,
But for just getting started, you don't necessarily need the device.
no,
So that's another thing. It's useful to test, but it's not 100% requirement. Just know that if you end up sending images that don't work, your certification is going to come back and say, hey, it doesn't work on this particular device. It's very similar to if you're a phone developer and they might say, hey, you may not know this, but this doesn't work on this phone. That kind of thing.
Hmm.
It's pretty similar. So it's useful but not required.
that's
Yes.
correct.
Yes.
How can I create and embed a custom task to my skill? I find it difficult to create custom tasks for routines. Oh, pretty thorough question.
That's a good candidate for contact us, but
It is.
can you give him the TikTok link?
The tech doc link,
I
yes.
think it's like basically step-by-step guidance on the tech doc, so you should be able to understand how things work.
I'll look that up. Custom task tech doc. Maybe the folks that are behind the scenes. In the meantime, I think I've got it right here into my custom tasks. So I'll just go ahead and paste that into the chat as well. Hacky Turner asks, "What is APL?" Ooh, this is an easy one. I can answer this. It's Alexa Presentation Language, which is the language used to put visual things on the screen devices. We have the Echo Shows, and the Echo Shows have screens. Not all the Alexa devices have screens, so we have those devices that are just round, the speakers, the Echo devices. But some of the Echo devices do have screens. So for those devices that do have screens, we have APL, and APL is the way to. You can also use Web API if you're making a game. So there's
Mhm.
multiple ways to get visuals on your device if you have a visual enabled device. But for most of our development cases, APL is pretty good. You can do a lot with it. It's a really cool design language to make panels and cards and DAG answers questions about APL as well, right?
Yeah,
So
Yes.
if
Yes.
anybody has any questions about how to make something pretty on the screen devices, on the Echo Show devices, go ahead and send us a message. We'll answer your questions. There's also some really, really great resources out there. APL Ninja is a big one. And we have that, that's actually not run by Amazon. It's a community project. But we have also contributed to it over the years because there's a lot out there for learning APL.
We also have the learning lab for APL, so
Right.
you might want to check that. That's a really good course.
Oh yeah, they have a really, really good Alexa Learning Lab. Alexa Learning Lab will get you started on a lot of the different ways that you can develop stuff for Alexa, including the APL course, which goes into quite a bit of detail.
Yeah. And Amanda, I remember you also had a session with an Alexa champion that did an amazing presentation on APL. I think you'd really like to review that show. I think he shared a lot of tips and best practice to get started in APL. And yeah, it was an amazing session as well.
Yeah, that was Ethan. He does a really, really pretty APL work. So again, if you're watching us on YouTube, then you already know where you're watching us from. But if you're not watching us on YouTube, there's our YouTube. And our YouTube has an archive of all of our past shows going back several years. So you can see both how things have changed for us over the years, different hosts, different lightings, different environments, different folks talking about different things, but also what the common questions are in development. And where you can get answers on some of the questions that you might have. And as Alexa continues to evolve, we're going to continue to evolve. We're going to continue to answer whatever the newest hot topic is. So, oh gosh, I so appreciate y'all coming here and answering some of these thorny questions. Today we had quite a few, so it's terrific to see people still, here and asking questions. And I know that folks are going to reInvent, so I hope people that go to reInvent have a great, great time. Like I said, I'm not making it this year, but if you're going to TwitchCon, I'm going to be at TwitchCon, which is new to me. I'm very excited. It's both in Vegas, so it's Vegas either way, I think. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Any parting thoughts? Gosh, we're close. We're getting close to an hour mark here. This might be a newbie question. If JavaScript is being phased out. No, JavaScript's not being phased out. No, we need JavaScript. That's definitely not being phased out. I think we said Java, which is different from JavaScript.
Yes.
Yeah, totally different. Totally different
might be
languages.
referring to that. Yes.
That always threw me off as a brand new developer too. Java versus JavaScript. We usually refer to the Node.js as Node.js as opposed to JavaScript. It is JavaScript. Funny thing about those two languages is they're called similar things, but they're not the same computer language.
Not at all. Yes. It was actually Java, not JavaScript. My bad if I.
Oh, he didn't say. That. Yeah. I think we did say Java, but it's easy to get the two things confused, so I completely understand.
Yes.
Java. I haven't done a lot of Java coding in my time, but I have done a lot of C# coding, and they run pretty close. They're rather similar. Yeah, and then Python's totally different, and then JavaScript and Java are actually pretty different from each other.
Yes.
Which is a little bit weird, but with JavaScript we're sticking mostly to Node. So
Node.js, yes.
Yeah, that's sticking around. That's a lot of our documentation in Node.js, so I don't think that's going anywhere anytime soon.
Yes.
All right. I'm just making sure there's no more chat questions because I've been thinking, oh, there might be another question. Make sure we answer those questions while we still have you here for 5 minutes. But if you missed the show, if you're watching this on VOD later, stop by our Slack. There's going to be a plug for it at the end of the broadcast, so you can slide in and chat with people on the Slack, or post on Stack Overflow, or join us next week. DAG team gets a lot of questions about Radio Skills Kit, so I'm hoping to have a productive Radio Skills Kit conversation. We'll see what people's questions are about Radio Skills Kit. If there are people that don't have questions, we will have that video up on demand as well at the usual spots. So thank you for joining us today for the show. It's been terrific having you.
Thank you for having us.
You will be behind the scenes in future episodes. These two aren't going anywhere, but we will see most of our viewers next time and chat with you later. Take care. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, everyone.